Hello everyone, how are you
Okay.
today?
Halo, baik Bu,
Hello,
puji Tuhan.
everyone.
Yeah. No, it is just it is only the test. It is only the test first. I mean, so
Good.
we will not start it yet.
Step by step, no rush.
Yeah, it is just a test. Jadi Romi bisa dengar suara saya. So Romi, can you hear my voice?
Yes, I do.
Oh yes, you do. Robin do. So
Semua udah beres kok. Silakan.
sudah ya. Oke. Baiklah, kalau gitu kita mulai aja ya.
Itu ada chat sih.
Iya, sebentar. Meeting password-nya apa? Saya mau pakai laptop. Pak Ciwi, meeting password-nya apa? Kota, udah tuh.
12345.
Okay, so we can start now. Hello
Okay.
everyone. Yeah, hello Robin, hello Pak Ciwi, hello Miss Rina. Thank you. First, thank you for joining this webinar. Now we are going to now we are going to discuss about business globally with its challenges. But now I'm about to tell you some words. Wait a second. I will read it first. Business is one of the ways in the world that can be done to get money. Business has many fields or areas. For now, in this digital area, we must be smart in choosing kind of business that is proper to us. Even more, we are people with disabilities who do not have much money to be used as capital. Online business will be suitable to us, but what are the challenges we will find when we build an online business? Here is Robin Stock, our source person, managing partner at DLE Limited Hong Kong. He will share his point of view and experience to us related to it. So Robin, please introduce yourself again first and continue to share. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be with you. It's good to be with you today. As you probably have seen in the poster and you already stated, my name is Robin Stock. I'm a partner of DLE Limited in Hong Kong since 2011. Actually, it's 13 years already. It's hard to believe. We started in 2011 with providing infant food products and baby food products, mainly into Greater China. And these products are highly regulated. You cannot simply import it without preparation. And so we started to facilitate the entire process from the beginning to the end. So beginning with the adjustment of formula, beginning with preparing the manufacturer for producing for a specific brand, and then do the logistics, cover the entire demand and supply management at the manufacturer side, and then guiding the production and also go into elements like sales and marketing, legal aspects, including contracts. So all in all, everything from the production belt to the end user, to, in that case, to the baby, And over time, more products came to it in the mainly healthcare industry, medical devices, OTC and RS drugs. So everything revolving around health, but also highly regulated products, which requires a lot of patience to prepare them for the market. You will see later why we started up with that. So I will get back to that later. But the point is that about 80% of our work is, you can say, consulting. 20% is the trade aspect of it. And the consulting includes all these areas that you will find in business, right? So marketing, sales, production, support, legal elements, and all of these little parts that make up the whole thing. And today, we are starting, or we are talking about business, and business is a broad term. You know, if you're not careful, we can talk the whole day, every day for a week, and we still don't cover the whole part. So therefore, let me come with an objective for this call. The objective is that at the end of this call, everyone has a better idea on what to do practically when you want to start a company. So all these elements that are part of it, what to consider, where to be attentive, and maybe where to be careful also. What are the pitfalls, the risks, and what you can do specific in general of when you talk about business, but also specifically for Indonesia, yeah, for your area. So that would be the idea. A little bit about housekeeping here. As you see, I don't have a PowerPoint or slides on purpose. However, as we go through the talk, and maybe hopefully there is also some feedback and questions and thoughts from your side, I will later after the call, not today, but in the next few days, prepare a document which is collecting all these thoughts. I will then pass it to Ms. Sissi, and she can then distribute it to the participants. So you have a guide. Beyond that, I also remain accessible for you after the call. If you have a question or you want to have something to discuss, something specifically with me, we can have a one-on-one call later too, or you want to write a mail or what have you. And then finally, a disclaimer, as always, you have to take everything that you hear that is from me and also from other people with a pinch of salt, simply because what works in my environment may not work in your environment, and vice versa. And that is interesting because I realize that every day actually somehow, because I'm Swiss, so I'm having this Swiss brain of myself, and you know, I'm used to do certain things a certain way, but I'm also living in Asia for the past 20 years combined. Yeah, I've been in Malaysia, I've been working in Singapore, 10 years now in Taipei. I'm having a business in Hong Kong and in other places too. And business is done differently here. And my wife, who is Taiwanese, and also my business partner, but she didn't really qualify. She doesn't really qualify as a Taiwanese. She has been raised and educated in the United States. But however, she always tells me, if for a project, if you do something a certain way, maybe the proper way, it will fail, because sometimes you have to do things differently, maybe not how it is in the book, yeah, in order to make things fly. And in practical terms, in the industry out there. You see this also when companies grow from small to mid-sized companies. Then they may bring in consultants, and those consultants are starting to look at details and processes that have been working maybe for 10, 20 years very well. But then they tell them, well, you can't do it like this because, you know, this imposes a risk, or if this or that happens, then it doesn't work anymore. And then they start to change these things. And then suddenly things do not run as smoothly anymore. So that's actually a thing which we have to consider, that there are a lot of shades of gray. So whatever I tell you, that's the moral of the story. Whatever I tell you is a guide for you to, you know, where you can take the bits and pieces that work. But at the end of the day, you have to master your environment by, you know, understanding it and making the effort to understand it, and not, you know, just adopt things. It's just data that I'm feeding you. It's just take it as an inspiration, if you will. Yeah. So the thing is, we structured this in four points, 4 areas. So one is an introduction. I will tell you my story a little bit. That's that you get to know me better on one hand, but moreover, because I want to use my story as a case to segue into some interesting conclusions, hopefully, to make you aware of some things. Yeah, so that's one element. The second part then we talk about is how to start a business. So what does it entail? What do you normally need to do for your due diligence to go through this process? This may also be interesting if you already have a business. You may still can take pieces out of that. So it's not only for those who want to start a business. And the third element is revolving around what business to start. So what should you do? You know, what is the demand and where are the opportunities that let you succeed fast? And there is also a context of today's often cited digital economy. This is an element which we have to bring up that has been ramping up over the last, I would say, 4 years, but preparing for at least 3 decades to where we are. And how does that influence the success of your business, and you know, and where are potential pitfalls and also risks? The last point then is, we can call it a Q&A, but it is a time where you may also want to throw in comments and thoughts, and maybe bring in things that I didn't highlight or which are important to you, maybe. So it can be a dynamic discussion. That is the intent. Yeah. Okay. So about myself in that sense, where I started many moons ago. So I grew up in Switzerland in the 70s. And that was I would say, a very stable, peaceful environment. And my parents were both artists. And so my mother was a part musician and slash designer also. And my father, he came from Germany, actually. He's from Berlin, from the Berlin Academy of Art. He was a graphic designer, photographer, painter. And to him, and therefore in our family and in my environment, therefore, passion for what you do is important. So my father when he then moved to Switzerland, and we were there as a family, he had also a business doing graphic design, and that was a quite successful business at the time. But he didn't notice that. He was doing what he always wanted doing, and he could have, if he had focused more on the economical part of the business and the business part and not of the art part, he could be even more successful. But there were customers around, especially at the time. There was no computer, no internet, obviously. So everything was hand drawn. And there were customers like, in the pharmaceutical industry, Sony, Sanyo, JVC, all these big brands were paying quite well for just having their advertisements done. So that was these worlds. And my father told me at the time, son, don't ever disappoint me and wear a suit and sit in a corporation and become one of them. So we know in Asia it's kind of different, right? In Asia, parents usually tell their children, well, do whatever you want, but make sure you become a lawyer or a doctor first. Yeah, so that's the path that has been given. And I guess that's also important for everyone to know, how we are shaped by the environment that we come out from, right? So therefore, for me, it was clear at the age of 4, I couldn't even articulate anything. They registered me for the music academy in Switzerland because the conservatory had very long waiting times, and there were all the preparatory courses that I went through until I would eventually leave school and then do the conservatory. So that was the idea. And I did have a passion for it, because doing something without having a passion for it was that was forbidden, at least in our family. I couldn't. That was not a topic. Because also when, usually you come out of school and you don't know what to do, then you have to actually sit down and think, what am I going to do? How do I earn my money? And there is usually this conflict of passion versus having to do something, that's interfering there. But to me, that was never a case. So I had a passion for the arts as well. But I also had a passion for computers and technology and all of these things, and especially combining the two. And that was in the 80s when I absorbed everything that had to do with electronic music production and synthesizers and recording and all of these things. And again, there was no internet. There was nothing there that I could simply just use. I had to work hard to, get into these things. But eventually I did. And to make a long story short, I then got an opportunity to become the product specialist at the age of 19. I think I was 19, yes, with Roland. Roland is that Japanese manufacturer for electronic musical instrument, still exists today. And that was to me, like Christmas and birthday at the same time, every day, because I got to go there and literally play with all of these things, supporting the dealers, obviously, musicians. I got to go to Japan and help developing, and that was my world. So I didn't work for a minute in there. I had a job. I was product specialist, but I didn't realize that. Just like my father didn't realize that he ran a business, I didn't realize that I have a job. But that was the whole success basis for me at the time. However, what I realized only, I think about 20 years later, is that I joined a company as a product specialist. The company was producing musical instruments for a market. And I started to get in touch automatically with things like sales and marketing. I learned how to write a letter. I learned how to communicate with customers. I learned about forecast, demand, supply, about support, about technical support, about import, export, logistics, and all of these things that somehow happened in the background. So that's why I always say, so that was my business degree, actually, at the time. And I did that for a couple of years, and it was great fun. It was the best time of my life in hindsight. But then I continued. I wanted to deepen my knowledge in technology in that field. I wanted to get more exposure to other manufacturers. I became a writer for music magazines at that time, doing reviews and product demonstrations, etc. And again, that was not like a review on YouTube. There was no YouTube. Writing for a magazine was something different. Yeah, you had to know your stuff and write it down and actually do the work. And then after that, I finally decided to do an education in that field. I learned to become an audio engineer and media technology engineer. Tonmeister is it called, but not because I wanted a paper or some kind of qualification. I couldn't care less about that. I wanted to know the topics. I wanted to know the subject. Long story short, again, I did that in Zurich. After graduation, I went to Malaysia to teach in this field for 5 years. And after teaching, the teaching process itself, lecturing in these areas were, of course, very exciting to me as well, especially in a different culture and all that. But I also realized that there is a difference between doing and teaching. So teaching somehow has pushed me away from the actual business. But I didn't realize that either. But I still had passion, right? So you see the point that I'm getting at is there was, in hindsight, a quick success to get a job, to get even then a teaching position that brought me up to the head lecturer of that department in the same university there. But all that brought me there is not my intent. It is my passion that brought me there. It is I didn't care about the details. I didn't care about what if I don't earn enough money? What if I fail? What if this? That was not a question at all. It was always, I want to do this, and therefore I do it. And I don't care what other people say. I just do it. And at that point, however, everybody comes to that point sooner or later. You think, oh, it would be nice to earn a little bit money. It would be nice to get some stability in it, to have a home, to have. So these were thoughts in my head. And then another opportunity opened with a large healthcare company, Roche, which incidentally is in my hometown, Basel, headquartered there. So they were looking for somebody who is managing all their, doing actually a transition from their media technology landscape to actually bring that to the next level and make it digital. That was in the early 2000s when digital technology became slowly established in the corporate world. I stayed 12 years in that company. To say one thing ahead, I started in there as taking over a department that was there for the last 20 years, doing everything the old school way. And now we had to prepare everything for the new age, so to speak. And that was very exciting too. But how it goes in these companies, very quickly, I was the head of department, then I was changing department. I went into IT. I was part global IT management team. I then was pushed into the London Business School leadership training, among other things, and I was put aside of the CIO's side as a kind of an assistant for a year to then, take over some part here and there. I was then sent to Singapore, take over the Asian regional infrastructure and do service management for the business divisions, pharma and diagnostics. I also was trained in the so-called molecules to markets further education that includes everything about the pharmaceutical production process and so on and so forth. So why I'm telling you this, after 12 years doing this, I came to a point where I realized I'm doing this, somehow I ended up here, but there's no more passion. So now it flipped around. Now there was money. I could more or less do whatever I wanted. I didn't have anybody in my neck. There was a secure pay every month, the life of an expat and all of these things, and life was good. But something tells me, in these companies, things can change very quickly. So today everything is fine. Tomorrow you just lost everything and you're gone, or you're in a position where you have to say no. I don't really like that. So you're not in control, right? You're not in control of things in a sense, and that is something I wanted to change. And I thought then, and that was around 2010. When we said, okay, we also want to stay in Asia. We don't want to leave to the United States or back to Europe. That was a personal decision. However, we then said, well, no problem. We have a good network, so we just start the company, right? So that was not the problem. Hong Kong was a good place because Hong Kong is very tax efficient and strategically in a good position between Greater China and South Asia as well. So it's like there in the center. So we did that, and things looked good, looked promising, right? So we all thought we know how it goes. We know how to do this, and because we were very well protected in this large company before, not realizing that we have lost the touch to how things really work out there. So therefore, the entire process at the beginning, where we had projects on our plate and everything looked fine, and people said things like, sure, we just do this, we just continue with this project and that project, and then we make even more money, and that will be very easy. But it wasn't, right? So things are usually, if you make that decision process where to start your business, you have all this fire and all of this you're so, you can say you're passionate for that idea, but pretty soon you may realize that it isn't as simple as it is. So it took many years, to make a long story short, it took many years for us to get our feet on the ground, because many projects simply didn't work out. People tell you today, yeah, that's fine, we can do it, and tomorrow they're gone. That's one reality that we didn't really experience before. Especially now, you are the one who is the CFO and the CIO and the CEO at the same time, which means that if you burn your budget the budget is gone. Previously, if a project didn't work out, there was a budget. Well, then it's gone. Then there will be a new budget and a new project. Who cares, right? But if it's your money that is being on the line, then this is different. So therefore, you can slide now from this realization when we started our business that, oh, you know, maybe it's not as easy as we thought. And then the first panic settles in to know that we need to change something, but what we need to change. And now, after the war, everybody is a general. I think we can see what we did wrong, or I mean, we didn't do things wrong per se, but our expectations were wrong of it, especially when it comes to the timelines that are involved in it. So this is the first lesson, actually. If you plan to do a business because you want to be independent, or you don't like to be working for somebody else, which are both the most reasons to do that, then you need to project first how to realistically, at least that you're able to cover your expenses. That seems to be logical, but there is no simulation ahead, right? You can only do it. And the best you can do is to have a plan. And this is going to bring us to the second part of this talk, how to plan your business. And that is incidentally called the business plan, the famous business plan, which is what I should have done first in the beginning, what everybody should do, regardless, even if you know exactly what you're doing, even if you have a business today. It is, I think, a very integral part to sit down and write a business plan. Now, why is the writing of the business plan important? First of all, it's a document at the end that you can, that is required by, for instance, investors, for instance, anybody, any partners that may work with you. Maybe somebody wants to become a shareholder of your company, so that will be also a form of investment, etc. So you need on paper your idea in every single detail. The second reason why to have it is more important. The second reason is that while you are writing this, without you realizing, you slowly understand it better. Automatically, something happens if you go through it piece by piece. You will begin to realize things that you didn't realize before. So the very writing process is essential. So in these days, I have to add, that doesn't mean you can go to ChatGPT and type in, please write the business plan about building a restaurant, right? That won't work. You have to do the work yourself, and then you can use ChatGPT for correcting grammar and clarity. Yeah. So I would like to dive a little bit in this business plan. And this business plan is important because that's one of the work that we do also for other companies today, is writing such business plans. For instance, if they intend to come to Asia or build a branch office in Asia, you cannot simply tell them, hey, you know, there's lots of opportunities. It's here in Asia, it's cheaper to run a branch office than in Europe, and so on and so forth. Just come here. They won't do that. So they will ask for a plan. And the first business plan, every business plan has a structure, and this structure is approximately similar for most of the businesses. Doesn't matter what. The first part is that you have to write a short management summary. A management summary is basically concluding everything in a nutshell, what you want to do. why you want to do it, and what is the intended objective of it, right? That has to be short because, as it says, management summary, if people in management usually don't like to read, so they like to glance over it, to give them a chance to just analyze is this something that interests me or not. The next one is the business case, and the business case is always part of a business plan. The business case is, as it says, kind of a justification and that highlights that there is a demand for it. So, for example, in a simple way, there's a village with 2 restaurants. One is providing bad food and the other one is closed all of the time. Then you have a business case to open a 3rd restaurant, and that would be then there. Of course, a business case also is supported by numbers. That is a thing, that is kind of the market situation. So you have to look at what are others doing, how big is this business in numbers, globally, locally, how many % of that whole cake could you take? So how feasible is it? That these are questions that you have to ask yourself on how to leverage that opportunity, because each business is an opportunity as well. And even though the opportunity is there, it doesn't mean that you're able to leverage on it, that you're able to actually succeed with it. So you need to analyze that very well. You need to understand your market. So in that case, you would need to understand restaurants very well. You need to understand why that other restaurant is not providing good food. You need to understand why the other restaurant is closed all of the time. You need to understand maybe the reasons behind everything. So there is a market analysis. This is also something that an investor wants to know. There is a financial projection. How much does it cost you to do this? How much does it cost you end to end? So your investment to run a business, list everything down, from the rent that you pay, the phone bills that you have to pay, everything, including your salary. How much do you need to sustain yourself for the next 2 years? How much do you need per year? What are unforeseen expenses? So do the finance plan separately, sit down with an Excel, do it, work over it, and then later bring it into the business plan. You also have to do a risk analysis. A risk analysis is what can go wrong and why. And usually you do that with a so-called SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis as a SWOT, SWOT, which basically outlines the strength of a project. So where is the potential? Where is the opportunity? In that. Then also the weakness of it. So weakness, for example, if you do to stay with the restaurant business, the weakness might be not many people go and eat out, so therefore there is less of a business case. Could be. Then the opportunity still is there, so you have to list down the opportunities that are there, and the threats. Competition, for example, is a threat. Increasing taxes is a threat. That your business is, for example, we have that here. If you open a 7-Eleven market here in Taiwan, the opportunity is clear, right? Everybody needs products from 7-Eleven. But the threat is that if your 7-Eleven goes well, headquarters will open another franchise just across the street because they think your location is good. So you have to share your profit with somebody else just across the street. So that's a threat. So again, SWOT analysis: S, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. You can do that graphically and list down in bullet points very clearly what is the positive thing and what is the negative thing about this idea. You also should write down elements of the organizational structure. Who is in there? What is your experience? Who is doing the business with you? How do you want to structure yourself? How do you arrange or structure your talents in it, so you can do exactly what is your specialty? You bring in somebody who is specialized in certain things, then that's a good thing. So for example, again, restaurant, you open a restaurant and you manage to hire a chef who previously has been working in a good hotel, then that would be something to highlight. So you see that the overall writing down, the act of writing down every single detail of your business will allow you to analyze it yourself and adjust here and there, and maybe uncover things, uncover pitfalls. The other thing with this here is to realize how do you structure yourself as a business. How do you what kind of form do you want to take? And that obviously entails that you register a business, and there we come into a new area. So registering a business is first of all different in every country, right? So there's different forms of business that you can choose, and so it is in Indonesia. And in Indonesia, as far I know, there are a couple of options for small businesses also. So they call it micro businesses. In India, it's called micro enterprise. I'm not sure exactly what's it called in Indonesia, but there are options for people who don't bring in large capital injections and who also need guidance. We come later to that part as well. I can give you a few agencies actually that provide that kind of guidance. So before you start your business, you should exhaust these opportunities given and go to certain government agencies that would give you some counseling on it in your specific case. So let me just look over it here. So there is, for example, in Indonesia, it's the BKPM. Maybe you know that better than I do. So this is a government agency responsible for investments into businesses. They also give guidance for new businesses, for startups. You have then, as a overarching body, it's called the Ministry of Cooperatives and Small and Medium Enterprises in Indonesia. And I will I will wrap it up for you then in a document as said earlier, so you don't need to write it down now. But this is just to let you know that there is more. So I see a total of 8 of similar agencies that are available to you, including the chambers of commerce, special finance institution that specifically have dedicated themselves to support small businesses in Indonesia. That would be the first point after you have written the business plan. So note the structure of it, yeah, the structure you have to follow, which one has to be first, right? So the first thing is that you still write your business plan, that you exactly know what to do, and then you are going to visit one or multiple of these agencies that will guide you and probably suggest to you how to easy start your company legally. And that is the key point. You need a legal vessel. You need a body to have your operations packed in. I see today when we do due diligence with businesses, when we do, for instance, for a trade, or we are looking for suppliers, quite a lot of these so-called companies that act to be a company are not registered companies. There are many that they just choose a name, have a website even, and have an address and the name, and say, well, that's my company, but it's not a registered company, and that doesn't work. Yeah, so you need a company that is, and you are signing on behalf of the company as a legal vessel to conduct business. And that is important for other businesses to engage with you, because there will be a due diligence done to see at least, you know, are you a proper company? It can be a small company, that's fine. But nevertheless, it has to be a company that you have to establish there. So that would be the process. That in itself is usually entangled with costs. You know, to register a company is going to cost something. To maintain a company is going to cost something. But also to run it is going to cost something. There's always this saying about Hong Kong companies that it's going to cost $2. Just, you know, with $2 you can open a company. That's still true. You can open a company with $2. But it's going to cost you a few $1,000s to operate it, because you need an address, you need to do your annual filings, you need to do your tax filings, you need to do your your whole declaration every year, and that's going to be done by a qualified agency, by an accountant, and he is going to charge you a few $1,000s for that. Not so sure in Indonesia for micro enterprise style companies, this may not be as expensive, but if you have a normal limited enterprise in most of the countries around, then these are costs which you have to include, right? So this is one thing. The next thing, even if you have registered a company, so we experience the other way around. We experience companies that pretend to be companies but are no companies. But then we experience companies that are companies but don't have efficient communication skills, we'll put it that way, to market themselves in a way that is required for others, business partners around them, to engage with them. What do I mean by that? If you have a company, you need to create a face. Yeah, you need to have at least, I would say, a web page somewhere with a dedicated domain name, not to feature crazy videos and make it really complicated, but just like a business card, yeah, where people, first thing they do, if you say my company's name is so-and-so, they go and check online, and if you see a website where your business is introduced properly, where in a simple but professional way you describe what you're offering, then you actually already gain a lot of trust, right? And some companies, we just have one of our partners, for example, exists since 1971. They've been doing business since 1971, successful. And but they have no website, they have nothing, they just not. But now they need to get themselves involved into commodity trading in an international scale. And in order to do that, they need that face. They need a proper website to the outside world, to show who you are and what you do. So that should be done professionally in a sense. It shouldn't look like something home cooked. Yeah, that's another thing. So rather have somebody look over it who knows how to deal with these things. Also have business cards, have a logo, have an address. When you communicate via email, then make sure you have a proper address down there. You have your logo there. Make sure that your business address is in a business area and not in a residential area. So all of these little things, I believe, do not really cost a lot of money at the end, but they generate a lot of value on how you look to others. Yeah. If you, of course, and that's always the case, if you start a business and you're lucky to have business partners that you know already, yeah, so you may be able to supply something, and that works very well, and then you just build that relationship. Of course, you cannot underestimate that. Of course, then all these outer things, these facade things like marketing, website, and all of that, that may not be important then, but still do it, because you may want at one point to grow. You may want to take a leap to maybe become a supplier for a bigger company. And that then really requires all of these basic things, what I just said. Yeah. So your face to the outside, how you're perceived. That brings me to another point in today's world. I experienced when my first job there at the time, there was no email, so everything was done by typewriter and all of that. And then came email, and everybody complained about email, and then email became somehow phased out now because we have all this chat. And I see today using a chat platform to exchange documents and contracts and all of that. I think it's a good approach today, and a good and a good signal that you're sending to your business partners, that you don't do everything via chat programs and WhatsApp and all of that. Use that to communicate is fine. I think it's accepted today. But make sure that your official and formal communication.
Ya, komunikasi formalnya dilakukan secara pastikan itu bukan Yahoo atau Gmail, tapi itu email dengan domain Anda sendiri.
Crazy, it's not expensive, but it's these little details really that have caused us also to, I have to say, base our decisions on going with this or the other, and I think many people are wired that way. So this is this. The next part is this is how you present yourself as a company. Make sure that when you have communication, when you're talking to others, meet them in person. as far as possible, obviously. Doesn't mean if you talk to somebody in the United States that you have to hop in a plane and fly over. But do as much as possible by direct communication, by either a phone call or a face-to-face call. This has been neglected dramatically over the last few years because of, the Great Sea and the pandemic and all of these things. But it is not a good basis to make, to engage in business. That's what we see every day. Yeah. So let me just, if there is any question at this point, right, please feel free to shoot in. Getting myself come to the next part. Otherwise, which is what business to start. So far, we have been talking about,
Okay,
how.
let me first who asked you a question.
Yes, please.
Wait a minute. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Are all of your sharing about I mean all of your selling can be called no can your all of your selling be called as critical thinking? So you need to think all of the everything before you make decision of something to start your business. Because I used to write. I used to write an article about critical thinking, so I know more or less about critical thinking. Thank you, Robin.
Not sure what exactly the question is at this point. So you mean that you need to apply critical thinking to your process of building a business? Is that?
Yes, that's what I mean.
Okay, then we have to see what do you mean by critical thinking. Critical thinking is, let me put it that way. Critical thinking, in my view, is something that we have to learn.
Yes.
It's like a muscle. It's not something that is linked to the intellect or your mental faculties or whatever. It's something that you have to learn. And that obviously is the basis for everything, for all of your decisions that you make. You should apply critical thinking, which usually means that you have to step out of your excitement and look at things and to have a reality check. Yeah, that's one part. So critical thinking example, in my view, would be you want to build a business because you don't want to work for somebody else, because you want to earn a lot of money. Who doesn't want to? And at the end, you actually overlook the fact that between 75 and 90% of startups fail. That is a fact, depending on where. They fail because lack of plan, mostly, lack of implementation, lack of funds, lack of investors, lack of qualifications, and all of these. I mean, skills, not paper skills, yeah, and lack of patience. So critical thinking means that be aware, if you are starting a business, you're not starting a nice journey first where you can say, I can sleep as long I want, and I don't have a boss anymore. I can do whatever I want. No, the critical thinking would be probably to realize that you're off on a very difficult, painful journey for a few years, at least.
So it means that you need all of those plans and analysis before you start your business, right?
Yes, that is a very crucial point in my view, and I'm saying that as out of my own experience.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That if a business plan, if I had made a business plan in our own case, I could have saved myself a lot of pain. Let's put it that way. Because if you don't have a plan, two things happen. Number one, you just have something fuzzy in your head, because you can't grasp. The way we are working is how your mind is working is you latch on to the nice things and you think, okay, I do it like that, no problem, I can do it like that. That's what you can do for a holiday. But if you do a business, you have to write it down so that you actually point by point scan each little detail, and then at the end you will find out, oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize that. So for example, find out how much money you need every day to survive. How much money for, I don't know, rent or phone bills, water bills, food, every single thing. Write it down, and then break it down in a monthly thing. Break it up to a year, and also include there all your expenses to run the business. Right. So founding a company, transport costs, your accountant, your taxes, your whatever it is you need to pay. Your website's going to cost a little bit something. It's maybe $10 here, $20 there, $30 there. It's going to add up, right? So at the end, you're having a few $100s just in little things, but that's what you need. And then you come to a point where I said, oh my God, I didn't think that I had to spend so much. But you have to be able to sustain yourself for at least 2 to 3 years without a dollar made, right? So income zero, expenditures X dollars, you name it.
Okay, thank you, Robin, for your answer. Who is the next? Christian, are you raised hand? Do you raise hand? I mean.
Yeah, Sisi. Hi.
Okay, yes, please ask a question to Robin.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Mr. Robin. I'm Christian. I'm
Hi,
Sisi's
Christian.
friend. Yes, I have 3 questions. Just want to sharing with you. I already built a company several years ago and already running both for domestic and export already. I want to hear your opinion about in your opinion, which one is have a bigger success chance? Work in passion or work with passion? Okay, and the second one. Oh, I give three questions in a row or just one by one, Mr. Robin?
Yeah, shoot it out. I make some notes. Okay.
Okay, which one is have a bigger chance to succeed faster? Yeah, we are startup and we want to going faster. Which one is going faster and success? Work in passion or work with passion? The second one is based on your experience in business. Which one which one is preferable for you? Progress based orientation or result based orientation? Regarding to the employee and doing business, yeah, you prefer progress or result? And the third one is about me. It's about me. I knew the market. I knew the market. I knew the environment. I knew the opportunity clearly, but the problem is I cannot wrote down in details point by point. But I knew the grand plan already. Can you give me an advice about my condition, Mr. Robin? Thank you.
Okay, interesting questions and for thought. So I'm going to the first one. What is better, have passion or no passion? I think because you remind me of again one of the many discussions I had with my wife on this. Yeah, if you would ask my father, then he said, "Well, why you ask me that? If you don't have passion, don't waste a minute of your time for it, right?" But and then when I complained to my wife, saying that the business world is dry, all this, I don't have the same passion anymore, and I'm saying that very openly and candidly that I could not, my first job, I could not wait. I was the saddest guy when in the evening, it was 10 p.m. So, okay, I have to go back and eat something, but hopefully tomorrow morning is fast. I never have that fire anymore today. I'm very candid, maybe also because, I'm not spring chicken anymore. But my wife says, well, you can't be successful if you have passion. And she thinks from a financial point of view, probably. So there's this, I think, in the Asian mind also, if you're having passion, you're playing, and therefore things cannot really become something meaningful in terms of in the monetary dimension. And that might be true. I didn't care what I earned that time. I earned something, but I didn't really care. That was not a point. Also, career. In my first job, I didn't care about a career. Then I went on to make an education or whatever. I didn't care about the paper. All of this planning, didn't care. But what I probably, from an economy point of view or from a commercial point of view, if I would have said, okay, I finish school and then I go and study whatever, and then I'm going to get a job, and then I'm going to earn that much, and then I buy a house, and all of that planning, then it would be easier in a way, but I would probably also be more miserable. So you have to balance, and it depends on whom you ask. The general saying is, if you have passion of what you're doing, you don't work another day. If you really like to work with people, if you like to work with a business, if you have energy and drive, then you're blessed. It doesn't have to exclude it. That's all you need. But don't put your mind on it too much. Just take every day, have a plan. That's what you come later to it, and do that. But if let's say you're surfing, you like surfing or skateboarding or anything like that, and you can do a business with selling equipment, surf equipment or whatnot, then that would be a perfect example of how to combine your passion with your business. Yeah, that's the ideal point. The second question is very interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you're asking process-oriented or result-oriented. And that also depends, I think, or what is better, right? So which you should focus on, I believe this is what you said. And I think you don't have a choice for one, because the process always drives you. You're going to make experiences. If you say result-oriented, then that's what an investor wants to hear, because an investor thinks result-oriented. So when he talks to you and say, okay, you're doing something here, I don't really care too much about how you do it and what your process is. Just tell me that I can get my 20% dividends per year out of my investment. And that would be result-oriented. But reality is that, again, the process will mess with your results, and it will mess with your results regardless, unless you are a multi-million-dollar operation and you somehow can absorb it in it. And for smaller businesses, the process is always there. So the results, in a practical term, what should you do? The results have to be your objective in the plan. Say, I want to achieve this by that time. And if you don't, you have to go back and analyze your process and find out what has been done wrongly or what didn't work out. And sometimes you will find things that didn't work out or things that you don't have under control. So you need to adjust. So other people, come to you and you're working 6 months on a project for them, with your new partners, but these partners at the end of the day don't continue anymore. They just disappear. This has become, in these days, quite often the case. We have had signed contracts with people. They just disappear from one day to another. Can happen. That's not your fault, So then the process would need to tell you, well, I need more such partners at the same time so that I have kind of a success rate, so that at least a few percent of my projects will become successful. So don't hinge only on one opportunity, right? And put all your effort and time into that one opportunity. Build parallel, that would be then something. The third one, I can't read my own writing. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the third question again, or let me know if I missed something in any other question?
The third question is about my condition. I tell about my condition. I knew the opportunity, I knew the market, I knew the environment, I knew the sources, I knew the networking, I knew how to do the marketing. But my weakness is I have a grand plan, but cannot write down the details. Do you have any tips for me how to grow my business? As we know that after the pandemic, some sectors is going lower and some market is stop in marketing. Yeah. Do you have any tips for me? I know I knew my grand plan. I knew my network business, but I have a weakness in writing down the details.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, okay, I understand. So first of all, obviously, every business is different. We need to know specifics of what business you're doing and all of that to look into it. And we can do that also one-on-one later. We can have a chat and I can give you some specific tips. But in general, that would be coming down still to the business plan. I'm not sure if you have a business plan already. If not, now would be the time to write one, because again, during the writing, you will discover certain things. And for you to write one, I can give you a structure. That one would be part of what I would distribute anyway. Just give me a little bit of time for you to follow. So it's like a TOC. You start with a TOC, at the beginning of the thing. So, first you have a management summary, for example. So you write down what you're doing. You know that already. You're doing your business already. It doesn't matter. Just write it down. You're doing this and this and this and this. So just think of your writing for advertising yourself, explaining yourself, introducing yourself, what you're doing. And then you can go chapter by chapter. If you say that since the pandemic something didn't work out, you're not alone. So you have to figure out how you can compensate for these things. And I can't tell you specifically where and what without looking into your specific case. But usually there are things that you can do to generate more momentum with what you're doing. So one would be, and I'm not sure. I'm just assuming you're operating national, right? You're operating within Indonesia, but you're not operating outside of Indonesia. Is that correct?
I'm doing export actually.
Export. So you're exporting to other
Yeah,
countries.
European market.
Good. Yeah. But that's the other thing, which would be the third part that we are talking about it. What areas are we actually supposed to choose to do business? Opening a company is one thing, but there are 10,000 different ways you could do business. Right?
I do already the goal setting, the grand plan, and so on. But in writing in detail, I have a problem. So I need to study more.
Is it the writing? If you have a problem with the writing only, then today we have some interesting tools. They are very helpful, but they're also dangerous. You guess it, right? So, which is ChatGPT. If you have a business today, I think one of the important things is that you have the full version of that and use it properly. But it's as helpful as it is dangerous. I'm going to come to that later. But if it's just the writing, I think what would help you probably is to have a structure of how to write it down. And from that structure, you build it slowly. And again, from my side, I can offer you to read it, to give you input on how that is. That one we can do on a one-on-one.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robin. Thank you so much, Mr.
No,
Robin. Thank you so much.
No issue. My pleasure. My pleasure. So, any other questions so far?
For me is already done. Thank you, Mr. Robin. Thank you.
Okay, no issue. We still have a Q&A. We still can bring in questions anytime or later. So, but that was also an important segue to the next step, actually. The next step here is what to start, so how to run a business. So these little few points that I highlighted, present yourself, make a plan, understand the risks, critical thinking. So these are the points, right? So now if you not already have a business, if you don't have a business, then what business do you supposed to start? Where, how, what shall I do? And that obviously is always changing a little bit. So if you're looking at the market dynamics right now, we are having like 5 areas today. One would be e-commerce. So that would be the traditional trade. This is not new either. So everybody knows e-commerce, at least since the 90s, but the growth has been continuously being pushed by the pandemic, of course. The next is fintech, so finance. Finance is interesting in Indonesia, specifically in Indonesia, because a large portion of the people in Indonesia are unbanked. So they don't have bank accounts. And they require financial services that operate on a very local and potentially regional level. So there would be an opportunity for solutions in a country like Indonesia, specifically interesting because Indonesia is very complex of its geography and it's very segmented. So there would be a lot benefit, I believe, to communities that are floating around everywhere geographically, to connect them to services they need, specifically in finance and microfinance area. So there would be opportunities. So we're talking about things like digital payments, peer-to-peer lending, and peer-to-peer lending is very interesting because it doesn't involve banks. It's kind of a new thing. No, it's not new, but it's kind of something that wouldn't work in Europe, for example. It wouldn't work in the United States, but it would work in Indonesia wonderfully. And I believe it's a very beneficial and healthy way to engage. So fintech The next is EdTech, education technology, is actually what we're doing now here with this talk to a certain degree. Remote learning, online courses, building educational platforms of all sorts of things. That is something which kind of ties in with fintech. The next is healthcare, health tech, telemedicine, health apps, and all these digital health records. Now we go to shady territory. I'm going to come to that later as well, because there is also a danger in it. But health in general, you know, bring healthcare to remote communities that usually don't have access to all of these services equally. And there are many ways to do it. And then the next is agri-tech. Agri-tech is everything to do with agriculture. It's solutions for sustainable farming. It's making sure the supply chain is working well. Supply of food, basic foods, yeah, and get market access for you know, small retailers that could tie into e-commerce and all of these things. So I would say a platform of building and running all elements of a healthy community, even remote communities. These are the best areas, in my view, to build a startup in. So again, you're looking at e-commerce, fintech, finance area, education, health tech, and agri-tech. So that would be one thing. Now, another one is kind of part of it always, and this is trade. Yeah, trade of commodities worldwide, of whatever is required, is always something that is on high demand. But the level of getting in there is also quite high. So the bar is quite high to get in there, to do it proper. Also because if you don't know where to start, you will end up dealing with the wrong people. And that's always, in today's day and age, one huge risk, which wasn't there like 20 years ago or even 10 years ago that much, that there are a lot of foul apples playing in this business arena, in this global business arena, which now everybody can access via internet and all that. There is also a downside of that. Yeah. So you would have to either you're naturally drawn to either of these elements. Either you already do something, you know. Maybe you know a farmer, maybe you know a producer of some kind, you know, exporting things, as we just heard, and all of that, and you want to refine that. So then you don't need to choose. But if you don't have an idea which areas or these areas could be an easy start. However, the context here, what we mentioned earlier, is the digital economy and all of that. These opportunities seem to be generated by today's digital day and age, right? So e-commerce, internet requires internet, it requires connectivity, it requires technical abilities and of the people and all of these things. What is common sense, and let's say in Europe or the US, in these countries, is not in every rural area. Not even here in Taiwan. There are always secluded areas, and they are less connected to this world than we think. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing for them, in my opinion. But still, they need to be connected somehow. And the digital day and age is something that's been pushed since the pandemic very aggressively, of something which there have been terms, words floating around like digital transformation, digital economy, fourth industrial revolution, and all of that stuff. And that opens another can of worms, in my opinion, because first of all, some of you may recall the dot-com bubble that we had in when was that? In mid 90s to very early 2000s, until about 2003. There was this hype of internet services, technologies, and especially the finance markets, trading with all of these internet-based companies. A lot of companies came up and they became successful very, very quickly. And then it all came crashing down with a big hoo-ha in 2003. And this is a similar situation right now, because at least that's what I see in all of this digital transformation talk. There is, on the surface, a very positive picture of it, but it's driven by some not so positive force in the background. But let's go back a little bit. I said fourth industrial revolution. That is what people are preaching today, and people, I mean, opinion leaders in business and in politics, etc. You will find this in the WEF and the World Economic Forum being advertised all the time, and there are a lot of books about it. You can read these books, and if you read them carefully, and then if you apply critical thinking, meaning stepping out of the narrative and actually understand what are the implications and ramifications of what they say, then you will realize very quickly that this isn't really there to help you succeed with your business. It's there to make a few even more rich, and let the middle part of society being drained out. So it's a shift of wealth from the middle class to the upper class. That's what we're seeing right now, and we are seeing it very aggressively in Germany. I heard just now, exporting to Europe. You have to be careful also when exporting to Europe, because Europe is literally in a crisis right now. It's not advertised on CNN and all of these system media very well. But if you're looking, and if I'm talking to my partners in Europe, and if I see what's happening, we are short before civil war in France, in Brussels, in Germany. There's something big coming. So I'm talking about this industrial revolution thing, going back to the fourth industrial revolution, which they claim we have now, or which is advertised to be now. There are three other industrial revolutions: the first, second, and the third. The first one was somewhere around mid of 18th century, around 1750 to 16, when the world suddenly discovered a new form of energy to drive business. So that would be mainly steam power, right? So suddenly you don't need the human being to move a machine or to hand carve things and produce. You can do that by steam power, because you have a wheel that's constantly turning as long as you have a fire under a bucket somewhere, and producing steam and harvesting that energy. So that was the implications of it, and the ramifications was of it. Suddenly you had factories, and factories were able to produce the same thing as before, but 100-fold more, right? So that's the first kind of evolution, a revolution, if you want, of some kind. The second one is then when electricity came into the play, because then you can start. That was, when was that? Early 19th century in these factories. Now you don't only have steam power, you can use electrical power to do the same thing, and you can actually keep the lights on 24/7. So people don't stopped to work in a natural rhythm, like you sleep at night and you come to work during the day. That stopped. So in order to double production, you say, well, there are people, they work at night, and then they sleep during the day, and then you get the next shift in, and they do the day shift and so on. So you can have, as a entrepreneur, from a business perspective, you can let your factory run 24/7. That was the second industrial revolution. The third industrial revolution was digital technology and microcomputers that started. So I mean, it started before around World War II, but it really took off after World War II. Interesting also the technology there of semiconductors and all of these things that suddenly appeared after World War II. And they then, of course, it's like how to say an octopus that enabled the quantification of everything that happened with electricity. So suddenly you could structure things, you could make data records of things much more efficiently. You could have computers put in charge of calculations that could be done much faster, and so on and so forth. So the third industrial revolution led. Yes? Question?
No, it's all right.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
So the third industrial revolution was actually the inclusion of digital technology that led us up to the very tools that you're looking at right now, which is the mobile phone and your computer and all of these things. They became faster and better and all of that. That's still the third industrial revolution, because you are using these tools as your companion, right? You're having it in your hand. You're using a computer. If you're not using it, you close it and you do something else. So the computer is still not a part of you. But we are already blurring this line right now by, for instance, wearing a smartwatch, because the smartwatch will be, measuring your pulse and your steps and all of these things without you knowing, and gathering this data. So you're wearing it on your skin. So already that would be a next step closer to the fourth industrial revolution, which is something, how to put it, the intent to merge biology with digital technology. And if you look at the literature of Ray Kurzweil, then this leads us to things like the so-called singularity, where so is the statement, not mine, but their statement of a fusion between your mind and the digital world, driven by some artificial intelligence. And that's where I personally believe we have arrived at the lowest point of human ethical evolution, because that is not done to help businesses flourish and help life to be flourishing. That is there to, we see that clearly now, to exert control. And so therefore you have to really be careful to build your own opinion, what the implications of it are, because more and more people realizing that this is at the moment something that is being pushed hard. There are elements to it in finance, for example. We are looking at the CBDCs, the central bank digital money that's being programmable, which allows a degree of control at unprecedented cases. And it is not aimed at you to be independent, on the contrary, right? So this is a whole can of worms, which probably would be another talk. But for now, the critical thinking should be used here to understand potential implications of this situation that we are facing globally right now. Yeah, so we are not, the global economy and geopolitics are not stable at all. It is not a good environment to build a business, actually, unless you're throwing around millions of dollars or even billions of dollars. this becomes very difficult in a geopolitical context. Yeah, I mean, we have to understand that we are that Europe is at the border of a potential war still, again, after around 80 years of it. People don't get that yet fully. Yeah, and what that means implication-wise for the whole rest of the world is something that you could pick up from there, right? So the good news, however, is I believe still here in Asia, and specifically in countries like Indonesia, what I mentioned previously, with connecting communities and help their independence, that still stands a chance. There is an opportunity there. Yeah, there things go. If you would say, I want to do, I'm doing a business with Europe, what I heard before, I think we have to have a conversation on that part. But the world is changing. So that's what I want to everybody to understand, that we are in a changing world. We are not in a growing world. Business is all about growing. You want to build a business, and then you want to grow naturally. You want to build something for yourself, for your families, for your environment, for your community. But you have to understand the risk that potentially the environment has different plans around you, and you need to be very flexible to navigate around that problem. So this is just my 5 cents, my opinion, what I'm seeing right now, because we are doing this global. I'm seeing these global pictures when we do business with Canada, the US, Brazil now, and Europe anyway, the Middle East. There are challenges ahead that you have to be prepared for, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Is there any other questions? We're slowly coming to an end of my talk in that sense, but I'm happy to go on with your thoughts and your questions from here. Anybody?
Yeah, I have a question. This is about the condition of all businessmen in Indonesia. Yeah, like I have a lot of family who are doing business. The business is running well. Some of them is on second generation who is running business. But the problem is Indonesian mostly of Indonesian people is cannot maximize the knowledge about information like social media, about website, about marketing in digital. What is about this condition in your point of view? This is the majority problem of businesses in Indonesia. On the other hand, there are a lot of youth generation who are very creative in scaling up their ideas, scaling up their business plan. On the other side, the majority of Indonesian is less of knowledge about the this digital era. Thank you, Mr. Robin.
Yeah, that's a very good point,
Robin.
actually. That's a very good
Robin.
point. And yes?
Robin, sorry, before you answer Christian, may I ask you one follow-up question?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't turn on my camera because I'm on a back-to-back meeting.
Okay.
And I also don't put my name because I don't want to disclose who I am. Okay. Because
That's okay.
I'm basically a professional business consulting. Okay. So
Yeah.
because of this friends, and I would like to know what's your opinion is when is the right time for everybody entrepreneur to call a friend? I mean, call a consultant.
Yeah, that's kind of tying back to what I had highlighted. calling a consultant, it depends on what consultant that you have. Again, if you have a company that is operating very well, and it's a small company, and there is always this change from becoming from a small successful companies to a mid-sized companies and then to a large companies. There are very critical changes in growth that can take down the entire thing. You know, it's as critical as starting the company, actually. You know, so a lot of these companies think, oh, I just get a consultant in, and then you get the so-called best consultant from McKinsey and God knows what. But I have seen their slides, I have seen them talking, I have seen them acting in companies, giving all the wrong advice. So that's one element of it. Wrong advice, not because the advice is wrong, they're very correct in what they're saying in a theoretical bubble, but each business is very unique, and especially if you're looking at businesses in certain cultural areas, like in Indonesia or in other countries around in Southeast or North Asia or what have you, or even in Brazil, right? It's just the same thing. So each business has that cultural component that needs to be preserved somehow. So bringing in a consultant, in my view, is a critical step because you have to be very clear beforehand that this consultant really has a track record in understanding the full picture of your organization end to end, and not simply just adopting you know, some SOPs from some, I don't know, business best practices and force it into the organization, which won't work, right? It won't work. That's what we said. You know, if we would do the contracts the way you're supposed to do contracting, even from a legal perspective, nobody would sign them. It's, you know, so business is people. I didn't have to understand that. Keep up. Business, what it really is people acting together, interacting together. So when you say, when is the time to bring a consultant? Well, the time to bring in a consultant is probably then when you really want to make the step from becoming small to medium, or from medium to large. Maybe you want to build your first global subsidiaries and all of that, to expand globally. Then it would be making sense to bring in a consultant. But again, critical is to bring in a consultant who really understands, not somebody who is charging a lot on coming from a good company or a so-called gold standard company. Like that one I want to caution you from, because I have seen businesses that have been successful previously failing with this. So yeah, these are my 2 cents. Does that make sense, or do you have any more questions to that? You're probably muted.
Pak Ciwi mau jawab lagi, tidak, masih di mute.
Maybe he is on meeting, Mr. Robin.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, good, fine, okay. I still have your question though. So, social media and digital marketing, right? Okay, so here's the rub. There's always a good side, and there's always a dark side to this also. The good side is that with your mobile phone, you can easily market things if you know how, right? You can have a TikTok channel, a YouTube channel, you can have a, I don't know, from Facebook to I don't know what. I'm not specialized in that. I have neither Facebook nor TikTok nor whatever. It's going to give me a headache. So it's probably because I'm too old for that kind of stuff. But I understand the value of these things as long it is done and managed by somebody who knows how to deal with these things. That is the positive thing. So with very little investment, you can reach the world essentially, right? And you can become viral and all of that. That is the positive thing. The negative thing, however, is if you're using TikTok and social media and whatnot, and if you're looking what others are saying, you are getting the impression that it's also easy, right? You see a lot of these short videos of I don't know, 15-year-olds who are driving a $1 million sports car and showing around how easy it is to make millions of dollars. Then you see other entrepreneurs, so-called entrepreneurs, they call themselves that, saying, well, so easy to make $1 million, you just do A, B, C, D and all of that. And then two things happen, So first of all, you start comparing. You see all this and say, you think, what am I doing wrong here? Everybody has a lot of money and is so successful. And the other thing that happens is that you're only looking at a strata that is floating there. You don't see what's happening below. So first of all, the majority is it's like with the normal businesses. The majority of people that are floating around on social media are not successful, even if it looks like they are successful. They are not successful. That's just the fact. Some of them simply state wrong things, give wrong advice, don't have companies. They're just individuals that are broadcasting from the basement of their parents' home. So we have to filter that in your mind, but it's difficult. Again, that's critical thinking, because if you just switch off your brain on relaxed and you're going to go strolling around and you get all this information in subconsciously, it's going to program you in a way you think that still then money is there on the street. No, it isn't. It's not easy. It's not as simple. So using your your social media in a positive way, there are a few examples excuse me of a company, various companies. So for example, you have something to do with food. Use recipes. People like to see that. Don't advertise such, but use something that you can connect to people. People like to eat. People like good food, so that you can connect that way. If you're doing something with a technical product, there's another company that is using social media by simply showing parts of their production and simple tips and tricks. So you have to use social media wisely, and on how to do that. But and show something that is interesting, then it can work to boost your marketing, your presence, your in a global scale. Even you can be successful pretty quickly with bringing your message out. So yeah, do that. But then there are other businesses. I'm taking commodity trading, for example, where you don't need marketing. You just need a group of people working together, and there is no communication to the outside, because you know your source and you know your buyer, and that's all you need. Yeah. So it really depends, again, on your business specifically that you're running, especially if you're already running a business. So you haven't done a lot of things wrong already, so you want to improve, you want to adjust. Then we have to look at your case specifically and see how could you use social media, digital media to boost your case. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Only as a tools to scale up or to improve the business currently, Mr. Robin.
Yeah. But that means you have a very good platform, in my view, to build on. So I think if you're successful with what you have been doing so far, continue what you're doing, yeah, and just look at what you want to achieve and then just while you continue what you're doing, build that bridge to your goal. You know, don't never change a winning horse. That's one thing. That's the consultant rule for before. Yeah, a company has been growing well, doing well, that they can afford a consultant. Shouldn't do too many things differently after it. You know, just adjust. But how to adjust is what we have to look individually a little bit deeper. You know, I'm talking very general. I don't know what you're doing in detail, but maybe we can have a one-on-one chat at some times later.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Okay, so is there any? I think in a nutshell, really, what as a conclusion, what I want to highlight here in this talk is that it's not easy to build a business, but it's very rewarding. It has a lot of pitfalls. There's a lot of dangers, there are a lot of risks, especially in this time. Observe the political climate, not in the official media. Look around what's happening in the world and be prepared that things are changing in the finance sector, in the supply sector, etc. And my advice to you, since you are in Indonesia, leverage of that, connect your nation, help to connect your nation within. That would be a very good thing that I would do, you know, with building bridges from small communities to larger communities, encompassing the entire nation. Yeah, that would be my advice. But again, write a plan, and that would be more or less my conclusion for today. If there's no other questions, even if we end here, we will not be disconnected, right? So I can be reached. We can have a chat. You can email me. Yeah, you can contact me, and I will still provide some summary of what I've said today after a few days. Yeah.
Thank you for the
Okay.
insights, Robin. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Cici, any last words?
Yes, so Robin, thank you for your sharing to us. Thank you for your time for us. Thank you also for the participants who are joining today. Okay, then we will end this webinar now. Do you have any question accept the material today?
Maybe later on I'm going to ask you about the Mr. Robin email or contact CC.
Okay.
Yeah,
If it is
please,
okay,
please
okay?
distribute. Yeah. Yes,
Okay,
yes, please distribute.
Yeah, okay. I will give
Thank you.
Mr. Robin's contact. Okay, then.
Yep. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Stay tuned.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.